Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I am plumbobd and today we are renovating my boyfriend's build. So if you missed it last week, my boyfriend, who's not super experienced with The Sims, tried to build a cafe for me for our San Sequoia rebuild series. I gave him an inspo pic, which by the way, sorry for not putting it on last week's video. I just couldn't find it anymore, so sorry. So yeah, as I said, he's not super experienced, so I had quite a bit of work to do, but not so much actually. He stayed quite true to the original inspo pic, but he made some mistakes that I wanted to fix. So first of all, you saw me putting down the platforms he used for the build and then raising all the build on a foundation. I just think that makes the build look more, not finished, it's just like use the tools that The Sims gives you for their intended purpose. Of course, there are many people that try to create custom furniture with, different pieces of the build catalog. They also use the tool mod in amazing and super creative ways. But when you're trying to build a save file, my recommendation would be to just use the tools that The Sims gives you for their intended purpose, just for a reason of playability and not having your lot glitch out or items floating around. I do make that mistake also sometimes. For example, in this build, I think I have raised a couple of objects mid-air because they weren't fitting on a shelf, and of course when you put the walls down, that's gonna show, like, you're gonna see the objects floating in mid-air, which is not super fun to play with, but sometimes looks win over functionality. But my general rule is prefer functional objects, something like that. So that's basically the reason why I decided to not use platforms and instead use foundations, because platforms tend to be quite glitchy, especially when you try and use them as foundations. I tend to use platforms only going one tick up or one tick down, just like, as The Sims intended those platforms to be used. So like for split leveling within the house, or then you can go a little bit more crazy when you're trying to make roof shapes. So that's basically it. That was one of the first things I did. Second thing I did, I have added some bump outs to the lot generally, because I think you've seen it at the beginning, the lot was quite square, quite cubic, so I decided to give him some more dimension, and I really wanted to use those windows from Eco Lifestyle. However, they only came in 3 wide dimensions, and I really didn't like the look of the shop with the typical 2 windows, like the basic windows from Eco Lifestyle. So I've decided to go for the Greenhouse Haven kit. Yes, I think that's the name. Those windows with also the matching door. I think that gives it a little bit more pizzazz, I would say, just because we have, it's not just a flat piece of glass, you have something more going on. So that's basically what I decided to do, and I added a little bit of landscaping around the build. Now, I didn't go crazy with plants because I know lots of people tend to really use lots of plants in cafes. They want to make it industrial, which was the style I was going for, but then they add lots of greenery, because I think that's what we see in real life. But I just didn't want to use plants. I am tired of just using plants everywhere. I need to try and use other items instead of plants, or be okay with empty space, because realistically in a build or in a house, you would have empty space just to have everything flowing better, yourself or your clients, in this case for a cafe. But in The Sims, we tend to really fill up every single corner. We want everything to be very well decorated, very full, but that's just not usually how builds are in real life. That's because we see our builds from The Sims with like a bird's eye view, so we see them from above and we notice things that we don't like or things that seem empty. But realistically, when you're in a build, there is gonna be empty space, and you, from your person point of view, like seeing things horizontally or like at proper human height, you're not gonna notice empty space, or like you're not gonna notice if a place feels empty. So that's basically what I've decided to do. I try to keep it more stripped back, didn't put so much stuff around, and I just went around and fixed the place. So I was talking about plants. I don't know why I went on a whole spiel about why we shouldn't over furnish our builds, but that's basically what I've done. So didn't put too many plants, and I fixed the terrain paint because we saw some grass peeking through, so I just like made it a little bit more defined. Then I also added that piece that's technically a roof decoration from Cottage Living, and I've used it to trace the edges of the terrain paint, so like you didn't see just like the solid rock going like melting into grass. So I just put those things, and I also use them as like car holders or like car stoppers, not super sure. One thing I mentioned in last week's video, which by the way I will link it for you in the description, not in the description, sorry, in the corner of the screen now. One thing I really appreciated and I thought was so creative on my boyfriend's side was the use of these jungle adventure plants on the side of the stairs. That's something I am probably gonna implement myself for the future, but for now I decided to make the stairs smaller just because I wanted to have like a kind of playground area for children. I thought it was a really cool idea that he decided to implement some activities for children. That's something like we don't usually do as simmers, because we think like, a cafe, only young adults are gonna shop in this lot, but realistically if you want to go there with your family, your children have something to do, and that's amazing. I really like what non-simmers do when they are presented with a Sims build to make. But yeah, so he used lots of those jungle adventure plants, and I decided to keep that element and use it, but instead I decided to like trace around the fencing of the outside patio, and it came across like being a kind of cool fenced in area, which I like. I prefer instead of having two different entrances, also because I think most of your Sims are gonna come out or they're gonna spawn in front of the build or in front of the lot, so nobody's gonna use the side entrance anyway. It's fine if we made a kind of playground area. Generally I didn't change much, like I just gave this build a facelift, let's say. I kept lots of the items my boyfriend used, didn't change the floor plan too much. Yeah, for example, you're seeing me now put a different flooring because we're moving onto the interior, but I, for example, have used the same tables with the same decorations. I kept the wallpaper the same. The bathroom, I kind of like what he did originally. You're not gonna see the bathroom in this speed build because bathrooms are boring, so I did them off camera, but if you download the lot, which by the way is already on my gallery, my origin ID is plumbobd, same as my YouTube. You can go find the build over there. Those bathrooms were like basically I think they were a 3x3 square. He put a door in the middle, and then you had two small bathroom stalls, kind of our handcrafted bathroom stalls, like when you just make a small rectangle of 1x2 and you put a toilet in on one side. I did the same, but he did it at the entrance, and I decided to put the toilets at the back, and then this made the main common area kind of like a T shape, and then I put the sinks on the two opposite sides. So I think you're gonna kind of see it when, like, now that I'm building. But then that's basically, for example, I kept the bathroom the same. I also kept the exact same item for the actual cafe. I think I've just changed the swatch. One thing I forgot to do, which I kind of want to do now, is like put something in front of the cafe station, just because like those counters are super traditional, and that's one thing I would like have liked to see in Get Together, because we have two coffee stations. Both of them are similar or identical to base game counters, and I understand why they did it. They wanted us to be able to customize our cafe if you wanted to add extra counters, as I did, but they have made absolutely no modern coffee station, and that's just not realistic, because we can have very rustic, very old style cafes, but also very modern cafes. So it would have been nice to see a kind of modern coffee station, but I can make it modern by just placing stuff in front of the counters, which in this case I forgot to do. I will remember to do it for my my personal save file. So if you download it from the gallery, you probably have to change the counters if you want to, or like use my trick. I am probably gonna use either the cutting board from Cool Kitchen Stuff, or the like wall decoration from Snow Escape, or even a half wall if the object is placed nicely, like or exactly on a tile. But I think a half wall might break the object, so I'm probably gonna use just a wall decoration. So like this, the inside of the cafe is very kind of the same. I just put a little bit more seating and a little less bars and bubble tea stations and coffee station, etc. You're seeing me now trying to play with the idea of making kind of like a book cafe, and I've used the modular bookshelves from the Book Nook kit, which you can see a short review on the short section of my YouTube channel if you're interested. I do like generally the kit. I think some items are just a little unfinished or a little repetitive compared to what we have already in the game, but I generally do like it. But the item just didn't work for this specific occasion, so I will make use of it somehow in the future. So I also, one thing I'm doing to my save file is just generally going around the neighborhoods with the tool mod and really put many items outside of the lot. Yesterday I saw a video from Such on Sims, which is a kind of newer Sims player. Like I saw him, he started popping up in my recommended, I think some months ago. And he made a review of a save file that heavily used the tool mod and completely changed the world and made your game feel unique, which is something that I really liked, and I think I want to use the tool mod way more than what I'm doing at this present moment. So putting way more plants, way more decorations. I'm just a little bit afraid for the playability of my save file. So I'm still being quite careful with what I'm placing, but I'm trying to decorate my save file a little bit more. Now you're seeing me furnish the staff room, kind of we put a cupcake machine. I don't know why my boyfriend decided to build that space, but honestly I didn't wanna bother trying to really put change the floor plan, delete the back hallway and make more space for more seating, because we already have plenty of tables. Your Sims are never gonna fill up all of those tables, and I get what he was trying to do with that room. It's just you don't really need for a cafe. So I just put a coffee machine, a couple of tables and chairs, if they need some extras, and I try to rotate the tables so you can see them. You can see there's one table that's upside down, So like I think that's probably how they would stock those tables, because you cannot pile them as chairs, because of course they don't have four legs, they have only one leg that goes through the middle. So like just lifting it up doesn't make like a lot of sense. So I just decided to flip it with the tool mod. And then we created like a smaller nook with a bar. I don't think the bar is gonna be usable, but it's just for the vibes mostly. Then eventually I go onto the outside patio and just change the chairs and the positioning of the tables. But yeah, that's basically it. Some updates about my personal life. It's confirmed I am moving to Germany. I finally have found a house and I'm doing all the processes of moving from one country to another. But this has been such a stressful period that I think if I have to move again, it's only gonna be moving back to Italy, not anywhere else. I thought being a European citizen would make my life so much easier, because you technically do not need health insurance because you have your own national one. You basically just like go to the country and start working. That's not the case. I was completely mistaken, and I never want to move abroad again to another country, because that was such a stressful time. But anyway, screenshots should be coming up very soon. Remember to follow me on all of my socials. Those will be linked in the description down below. And also give this video a like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, all of those good stuff. It really helps the channel out. I will catch you all in my next speed build. Goodbye!